welcome to Trackops. I am your host today. I am Chuck Cox, and today we're going to be going over invitations. So, if your organization has trouble finding vendor investigators, staff members, other parties of your vendor panel that you want to assign to an event or task on a case, if you have trouble locating those individuals, and traditionally you spend that time making phone calls, sending out emails to these investigators, to these third-party companies, looking to determine if they have any qualified staff that would be available to work an event or a task that you have scheduled on a case. Oftentimes you may find yourself in this scenario and you don't know if you have a confirmed assignment from a third-party company, or you don't know if the staff members that you have in your company are available to work an event or a task, and you're left sort of playing a guessing game whether or not you actually have someone assigned to this event. And if it's a time-sensitive matter, then these things need to move quickly, and spending time making tedious phone calls, sending out tedious emails is not the most efficient way to determine which staff member, which vendor investigator is going to be available to work the case. So Trackops offers a new handy feature called invitations that allows you to quickly and easily capture the investigator availability. So to get started, from our dashboard, we're going to go into a case that we're working. And from our case overview, we're going to go to our agenda tab. And we see that we've got an event here scheduled. And this event is going to be happening Saturday night into early Sunday morning. And we need to ensure that we've got our investigators on it, because this video surveillance is for the subject's birthday. It's a singular event. It's going to happen one day this year, and we need to make sure that we get this video surveillance to complete our case. So instead of sending out multiple emails for each of our investigators and waiting for a reply, we can actually create an invitation, send out the invitation at mass to all of our investigators, and wait for them to then respond. So what we can do is go into our event, and now we've got an invitations tab. So we'll click into that tab and we'll click new invitations, and this brings us to our actual invitation. So we can do a couple of things here. One, we can add a response deadline. So because this is occurring this Saturday night, we want to make sure that we've locked our investigator down by at least Friday, end of day, because it's going to be happening the next day. We don't want to play any guessing games. We want to know who's going to be working this case at least 24 hours in advance. We can also add some requirements. So any additional notes, any job duties, or investigative requirements that the investigator would need to know before, deciding whether or not they're going to be available or unavailable to take this job. The requirements give you an opportunity to add some context into the event, add some job duties to the event, and then the investigator can read those and decide whether or not they want to work this job. So we'll go ahead and add a couple here. We're going to say that the investigator cannot expense more than 15 miles or more than 30 minutes of travel time while working this event. So it gives a little bit of context to the investigator. If they're going to be traveling a greater amount of time than 15 miles and more than 30 minutes, they may want to second guess, because they're only going to be able to expense that much on the event. So now that we've got some requirements in there, we can go ahead and select our investigators. So this is sort of where the use case for the vendor panel comes into play, where you've got your investigators grouped by a certain different amount of criteria. So your very first list is going to be your preferred investigators based on the client, which is Riverrun, and also that they're the preferred investigators that are licensed in the state the event is occurring, in this case Alaska. So we've got our 4 preferred investigators here, and we're going to select all of them because not only are they preferred by our client, but they're actually licensed in the state where we want this event to occur. There's also some other sections: preferred not licensed in Alaska, nearby but licensed, nearby but not licensed, all licensed in Alaska, and then all not licensed in Alaska. The investigators will populate within those individual groups, and you can select which ones you want from those groups. So we've got our 4, and we're going to click Send Invitations. Each investigator will now receive an email with the invite inside of it, asking them to provide their availability to work this event. The email that they receive is the event invitation email, which you can find in your email settings and templates. If at any time you wish to change the response deadline or update the requirements within the invitation, or you want to just remove the invitation altogether, you can easily do that by clicking the Change button next to the invitation response status. Now that the invitations have been sent out from the system, each of these investigators will receive an email, and within that email there'll be a unique invitation link that they can then respond, either available or unavailable, and then they can leave some additional notes or comments about why they can or can't work the event. By default, once the invitation response has been submitted by the investigator, then the case manager is sent the event invitation response notice, which you can find in your email settings and templates, that alerts them of the investigator's response. So if the activity is responded to the case manager receives it. If it's not connected to a case, the notification would deliver to the general notification email instead. As these responses start coming in, the case manager receives emails. They can log back into the case, into the event that they have scheduled, click the invitations tab, and then they can see here who's responded and their status. So we can tell that Daenerys has not responded, Arya is available, Tyrion is unavailable, he has a scheduling conflict, and then ABC is available as well. So from the 4, if we want to make a decision right now, we have 2 that we know are available. And since we know ABC is available to work all day, we can go ahead and select them to work this event. And we can assign them to the case. Once you click Assign, the system prompts you for a couple different options. One is to disable the invitation responses. So if you don't want to receive any responses from your investigators that have yet to respond to the invitation, you can disable that here. You can also send a decline notice to the other available investigators. So in this case, Arya would receive a notification to let her know that she was not chosen to work the event and it said somebody else was. So we'll click Assign. And now we've assigned ABC Investigations to the event, and we can see that Arya has been declined. So in summary, the invitations module within Trackops can provide you with an efficient way of confirming and determining the availability of your staff members, whether they be in-house investigators or part of your vendor investigator panel. It saves you a lot of time from having to email each investigator, each vendor to determine their availability. All the while maintaining your rapport with those vendors and those investigators, because it provides them an easy way to let you know their availability for the event and task that you're looking to assign them to. If you have any other questions about invitations or any other features in the systems, please submit your tickets to support@trackops.com. You can also click the Help drop-down button at the top right of your Trackops and click Submit a Ticket, and we will get back to you as soon as we can. Thanks again for using Trackops.